Now we have heard again directly from Savannah Guthrie on Instagram last night. For the first time, she does not appear to be reading from a script, but her tone was not optimistic. Watch.
Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
An hour of desperation. Savannah there, having a little makeup on, having done her hair a little bit. And of course, you know, you have the online nuts who are like, I would never, if my mother were missing, I would never put on a stitch of makeup. Okay, Savannah has obviously had the hardest week plus of her life. Those videos showing her incredibly raw without hair and makeup done are what's real. And as somebody who does the hair and makeup virtually every day, I completely related to that feeling of when things are really hard, you don't do it. And it's part of your depression, your sadness, and your inability barely to get out of bed. So the fact that Savannah's functioning, was able to drag herself in front of the camera the past couple of times to issue those other videos is pretty Herculean and impressive. And I saw her putting on a little makeup for the latest video as a very good sign of her mental health, because I think it's armor in a way. And if you can just like make an effort at whatever, looking a little nicer, like a little bit more pop in your lip and the color, it's almost like a sign of like, I will find myself again. That face that I present to the world every day, I'm still there. I'm in there. I'm suffering, but I'm still in there. That girl who goes out and does the Today Show will be back. And it's a bit of armor where it's like she sounded stronger to me in that video. And her messaging was no longer to the kidnappers. It was to us. You know, let's face it. There's probably not a kidnapper. This is probably a murder. I mean, I'm sorry. That's what I think, as I thought for many days now. Those guys, my belief is whoever wrote those ransom notes was an opportunist trying to take advantage of a suffering family. And I'll go through with you what I kind of outlined it in my head. There was 41 minutes in that house. It was definitely, we know it was a kidnapper of sorts. It was an abductor. Maybe not a kidnapper, but an abductor, because we know she didn't wander off on her own at random, because who took the Nest cameras? She might have had a senior moment where she fell and hit her head, whatever, and then wandered. Who took the Nest cameras? Did she? She fell and hit her head, and then she destroyed and took her 2 Nest cameras in the front and the back of her home? No, that didn't happen. Someone did take her. And so why would you take her? You either took her because you wanted to kidnap her for money, or you took her because you wanted to hurt her. I mean, really, is there another realistic option? And I don't believe those people who are harassing the family last week have her. I don't believe a reference to a white Apple Watch and possibly its placement on a nightstand, etc., and a floodlight that could be seen by anybody from the exterior of the home is proof they have anything. As I've been saying, if you wanted to prove, hell, my audience and I could do this with each other. If somebody had me and I gave a couple of comments that only my audience would know the references to, I could satisfy you that somebody had me, right? Like, easily. And it's for a mother and her children, one or two references from their childhood or some funny moment they had, some family joke. You know how it is at Thanksgiving. We've got them in my family. You got them in yours. Some reference, some thing that you make fun of on the one child, not the other. Some joke that the family always brings up to. It's very easy to prove you have somebody without referencing a floodlight. That's fucking bullshit. So this family's been getting harassed by an opportunist, which seemed clear to us given the number of fraud stories we've done on this show. It's just, these people are heartless, they're sophisticated, and they couldn't care less about hurting an elderly person, a middle-aged person, a child. They don't care. All they want is to get paid. And they saw an opportunity, I believe, to steal $6 million from Savannah Guthrie in her lowest moment. That's my own belief. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, because if I'm wrong, it means there's an actual kidnapper out there with Nancy Guthrie. But obviously, Savannah and her brother and sister did not believe that because they didn't pay the ransom. We're now well over 12 hours past the moment when it was due. And that $6 million ransom deadline has come and gone with no money deposited in the Bitcoin account, according to TMZ, which knows what the Bitcoin account, what its numbers are. They've been checking it to see if anybody's put any money in it all along. And their latest update was nothing was deposited. So they didn't pay the ransom, even though the family said, we'll pay. We're willing to pay on Saturday night. What they were really saying was, give us proof of life. You know, prove to us you have her and we will pay. Or just proof that you have her, not even of life. And obviously they didn't get it. So they didn't pay the ransom, and I think that was the right move. As I said yesterday, I don't think I'd pay it. I think someone has taken Nancy Guthrie's life. And the real question in my mind now is, who and why? Why did they remove her from the home before they did it? Because that we know too. We know they were in there for about 41 minutes because we know the Nest cameras were taken out at 1:47 and Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker disconnected from her iPhone at 2:28. So we know it took about 41 minutes for the perpetrator to do whatever he did inside that home. What did he do? It doesn't appear that he killed Nancy Guthrie in her home because that pacemaker was still connected to the iPhone at 2:28 a.m. when it appears he took her from the home. It does appear he took her because A, she's no longer there. B, the pacemaker disconnected from the iPhone at that hour. And C, there was blood at least on the front stoop. And we believe inside the house. The sheriff continues to say there was DNA inside that they're having analyzed. That all would suggest someone took her and that she was alive. I just can't get past, why would the pacemaker not have disconnected until 2:28 if she'd been killed prior to that? If she'd been killed, let's go down the theory of it was family over at Annie and Tomas's house earlier in the evening, and he never actually did return her at 9:48 p.m., like the sheriff said. Okay, that would be on the pacemaker. We would see that. Clearly, the pacemaker was connected to the iPhone prior to 2:28 a.m. and was downloading data. And all the research we've done shows that a pacemaker updates periodically, like over the course of a few hours. It's not second by second to the iPhone. So it would be like maybe 3 hours, you get another upload from your pacemaker onto your iPhone of what your heart's done over the past few hours. And typically it would be very boring and you'd be happy to see a boring heart report. But if something massive happened, like you were in a scuffle or somebody was trying to kidnap you, one would think that would be reflected in your heart rate And certainly if you died, your pacemaker would reflect that you had died, that there was no heart activity. That would be on the record as of 2/28. And that's not what the sheriff's telling us. I mean, and it makes no sense that the sheriff, if he saw that Nancy Guthrie had died prior to 2/28, would be engaging in this wild goose chase, would be saying, I think she's alive, would be engaging, as the feds are, with the Guthrie family on responding to alleged and possible kidnappers. None of their behavior suggests they believe she's definitely passed, which they would know if her pacemaker reflected a death prior to 2:28 a.m. when it stopped communicating with its phone. So those are the things that we appear to know. 41 minutes. She did not just walk off on her own. Someone did take her alive, at least as of 2/28, and that the sheriff believes that based on the pacemaker data. That leaves us with who and why. Now we're just getting new information in as I'm talking to you. This is from Tom Winter of NBC News. Law enforcement is expected to release a surveillance photo showing a potential subject in the ongoing Nancy Guthrie investigation as soon as this afternoon, according to two senior law enforcement officials. Surveillance photo showing a potential subject. Great. Great. Good. We'll look forward to seeing that. That's the only thing that makes sense, that someone... I mean, I believe that someone took her and probably then took her life. Because think about it. If you are a kidnapper, why are you kidnapping? You're kidnapping because you want money. You want ransom. Okay, well, you just blew that. You didn't... If that was them behind these latest demands, they blew it. They did not provide proof of life, and they didn't get their money. Now that's over. If you took her and you didn't submit a ransom demand right away, and then two opportunists or one opportunist decided to bomb in and make a Bitcoin demand that you're not behind, you probably would have rushed to make your demand, concerned that the Guthrie family was going to pay somebody other than you. And you probably would have submitted a lock of hair or something to prove you were the actual kidnapper who had her. Nothing. Crickets. So it doesn't appear that somebody is hiding Nancy Guthrie for ransom at this point. If she was killed, the question is who and why. Was it someone who was stalking Savannah Guthrie? We don't have reports of actual stalkers, active stalkers. As I told you, I did receive information from a tipster on somebody who had been stalking Savannah along with others. And this person, I think, was let out of prison a few years ago. But there's nothing about an active stalking situation, or certainly not somebody who they know. And I'm sure at this point, the FBI knows if there was an active stalking situation and found out where those people were on the day that she disappeared. Okay, so there's that. It's still possible. We don't know anything. They're not telling us active stalkers, et cetera, or who might be on that list. It could be a crazed fan. Well, stalker kind of suggests crazed fan. Or it could be somebody angry with Savannah. Now, as our guest pointed out yesterday, sadly, that's kind of more likely if something were to happen to me or happen to Tucker, because we're more controversial than Savannah Guthrie is. But it doesn't mean it can't happen in her case too. Even like the cheery morning host can get some lunatic who decides she's awful because she did one report that touched on his favorite issue and he wants to make an example of her, and he's got a touch of the crazies and he does something about it. Okay, so it could be some sort of crazed NBC watcher, someone who either loves her, sickly, or hates her. It could be somebody who hates Nancy Guthrie. They're right now today taking the DNA of all the workers who worked on her home, trying to figure out whether they were in the home when they shouldn't have been, et cetera. They're just trying to rule people out right now. It could have been one of those people, or it could have been somebody closer to home. It could have been a friend or a family member. And that's why they're looking down the road at Annie and Tomas. I don't think they're looking at Savannah, who by all accounts was in New York when she got the call from her mother's friends or from her sister that they couldn't find their mother. And no one's even mentioned anything about the brother Cameron, who's 61 and a retired fighter pilot who I believe lived out of town too. He didn't show up until a couple days into this saga. So they're all fair game because they're family, and that's where you start. When it comes to the family, you got to ask, what would the motive have been? You know, you do have to look at Annie and Tomas and ask who's the beneficiary of any life insurance policy she had? Who's the main beneficiary of any will that Nancy Guthrie had? How much of a burden was Nancy Guthrie to those who were taking care of her? I mean, those are the questions that law enforcement will be asking, and those are the right questions. What was the dynamic between Nancy Guthrie and her family? Was it all rainbows and unicorns? Because let me tell you something. What happens on the Today Show is they only paint a picture of the most happy, lovely things, and everyone's a family member to each other on that set. And obviously your home life is absolutely perfect. And if they ever go home and do a shoot with your parents, that's only going to be painted in the most perfect light. And look, I'm just going to tell you, these are lies. They're lies. Even now, as I watch them say, oh no, that's the Today Show. It really is a family. It isn't. I'm not so enraptured in this story that I haven't forgotten that it's a snake pit over there. It's a fucking snake pit, okay? They're literally right now in the Daily Mail, there's an article about how all these backbiters at NBC are feeling kind of bad now because Savannah was out for 4 to 6 weeks with a vocal cord surgery. She wasn't allowed to speak preceding this event. And they were gleefully leaking to the Daily Mail that the ratings went up when she was gone. Oh, she's toast. The viewers don't want her anymore. You know, she's this, she's that, she's the other thing. Well, now they're like, oh, gee, we feel kind of bad. Feel kind of bad. We crapped all over her while she was out for her surgery. We were leaking to the Daily Mail that she was likely to get fired because whoever took over for her got a higher rating. That's who the Today Show is. I'm sorry, but let's not fool ourselves. And the cheery, perfect home pictures, they don't know. You don't know what the dynamic is. You have no idea. Do you really know what the dynamic is between Savannah and her sister? Who does the lion's share of the taking care of Nancy? I guarantee you it's not Savannah. Maybe Savannah financially, but she doesn't even live there. Savannah lives in Lower Manhattan and is living a cosmopolitan New York life. It's the sister who lives 10 minutes away from the mother. And anybody with an 84-year-old mother knows that can be potentially a heavy lift for the person who's actually there. All right, so these are all the things that they're going to be looking at and are looking at. But right now, other than this news we just get from Tom Winter at NBC, expected to release his surveillance photos showing a potential subject. That's all, just subject in the investigation. We don't know of any actual real clues. They're analyzing DNA. That's a real clue. We'll wait to see. They're looking at Annie Guthrie's car. They're looking at Nancy Guthrie's car. We have precious little to go on from the sound of it. International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There's a never-ending list of reasons gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. And a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. Gold can thrive during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced strategy. It gives you peace of mind, given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. See if holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. Just text MK to the number 989898 to receive your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider letting Birch Gold help you diversify with gold, so you too can have peace of mind regardless of the uncertainty. Text MK to 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.